Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Mark. Today we're going to start looking at Mark chapter 4. Now, we've already seen that Jesus' ministry is growing rapidly. Great crowds are coming to hear him preach and to teach. Opposition is also growing primarily among the Pharisees and the religious leaders. Now, as we move into chapter 4, we're going to see Jesus' teaching ministry, how he begins to teach them primarily through parables about the nature of the kingdom of God. So let's begin reading chapter 4. Again, Jesus began to teach by the lake. Now, this is the Sea of Galilee. The crowd that gathered around him was so large that he had to get into a boat and sat on it on the lake while all the people were along the shore at the water's edge. He taught them many things by parables, and in his teaching he said, "Listen." So great crowds are coming, so many along the Sea of Galilee that Jesus needs to get a different spot to teach them. So he gets into a boat, puts a little out from shore so that he can address the entire crowd that is gathered by the seashore. Notice this, he teaches them in parables. Jesus often used parables, little stories, to communicate the power of the kingdom of God in his teaching. They hear the story, they can remember it, and then they can apply what it means to the kingdom of God. He begins by saying, "Listen." Now, as we read through chapter 4, we're going to see this chapter contains 4 different parables about the kingdom. The first is about the sower and the seed and different kinds of growth and different kinds of soil. The second parable will be about a bowl covering a lamp. That is, you don't light a lamp and then put it under a bowl. The third parable will again be about seeds, about a man scattering seed on the ground and waiting for it to grow. And then the fourth will again be about seeds, about the mustard seed and how the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed. Now, the unifying theme in all 4 of these parables is the kingdom of God. You remember when we began Mark, we saw that the first utterance of Jesus, the first proclamation of Jesus was, "The kingdom of God is here." The kingdom of God has drawn near. It's all about the kingdom of God. And as he went on with his ministry, they see that he has the authority of the kingdom because he is the king. You see, Jesus is the king, King of kings and Lord of lords. And when he comes, he has brought the kingdom. That's why his teaching had authority. It's the authority of the king and his kingdom. That's why his miracles showed his authority. It's the authority of the kingdom and the king. That's why he could drive out evil spirits, defeating the kingdom of evil, because it is the power of the kingdom of God and the king. So now Jesus, by the use of parables, begins to explain the nature of the kingdom. People are realizing the kingdom of God is here, but what is the kingdom like? What are the characteristics of the kingdom of God? What is the meaning of the kingdom of God among us? And so as the crowd is there, ready, expectant, listening, Jesus begins to explain the nature of the kingdom using these parables. So let's look at the first parable, beginning in verse 3. "Listen," Jesus said, "a farmer goes out to sow his seed. As he's scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and they ate it up. Some fell along rocky places. It did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched. They withered because they did not have a root or deep root. Other seed fell among the thorns, which grew up and choked the plants, and so they did not bear grain. Still other seed fell on good soil. It came up, it grew, it produced a crop, multiplying 30, 60, even 100 times. Jesus said, 'Whoever has ears to hear, let him hear.'" Notice how I began the parable by saying, "Listen." And then when he finishes the parable, he said, "If you have ears to hear, then hear. Hear what I'm teaching you about the kingdom." Now, he talks about the farmer sowing his seed and different types of ground. Some seed fell along the path. That's the path that leads through the field. That's like a roadway. Some fell along the path. Some fell along the soil, but where the soil was shallow, so the seed, it begins to grow but cannot put forth deep root. Some fell among the thorns. It begins to grow, but there are thorns and weeds as well, and they choke out the plant. But some falls in good soil and produces a great crop, even 100-fold, some of it. So as the seed is sown, it falls on different kinds of soil, and so there's different kinds of growth. Now he's teaching us about the nature of the kingdom. What is it about the kingdom of God that is explained to us in the different kinds of soil onto which the seed falls? We'll talk about that in some detail tomorrow, how the parable of the sower and the different kinds of soil the seed falls in explains something to us about the nature of the kingdom of God. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Mark.